Hey there all you lovely people out there, welcome to a new video on my channel. This is a new series I'm going to be doing entitled Planet Zoo for Dummies, and I thought there's a lot of videos out there that explain Planet Zoo way better than I ever could, but this is for the people that don't know all the technical terms and, you know, not quite as familiar with the game as some of the, what I'm going to call them pros from now on. They're not pros, they're just regular people like you and me. They're just bloody good at this game, and those kind of people that I watch videos on, the likes of Delay Designer and Paulsley and Rudy Renkamel and Best in Slot, those sort of people, they'll give you brilliant tutorials. I mean, absolutely awesome tutorials. Anything I've ever learned, I've learned from those guys. But I'm hoping to keep these a little bit more on a simpler level for anybody who's just getting started with the game, because I think it's a very steep learning curve, particularly if you're coming to this game without having played Planet Coaster first. So I want to try and do a few of the basics from literally from the ground up, being that this episode is terrain, and hopefully you guys can get something out of it. Little disclaimer before we start, I do not claim to be an expert. These are just little tips that I've learned while playing from some of those guys, from finding things out myself, and I'm just looking to pass them on to people. So anyway, let's get started. As it says in the title, this episode is about terrain. I have cleared out this map totally, as you can see. This is a temperate one, doing on sandbox, and I just want to show you guys what I've learned so far about the terrain tool. It can be a bit daunting when you first look at everything, so what I'm going to try and do is go through a few of the tabs and a few of the tips and tricks that I've learned whilst studying other people's videos and playing this game myself for about a year now, on and off. I've learned a few things. So basically this is the terrain box. Just going to turn my size down there because that looks a bit big. Okay, yes, so down the side of this box we have the sculpting, which is this area here. I'll show you what all these things can do in a second. We're just going to see the tabs first. Terrain stamp tool, you will get this fancy looking gizmo. And again, it's in different shapes, which again I will show you all of this stuff later, but this is something that can be very helpful. And we have the painting, which is obviously as you would expect. You know, you select a surface, you put it down, and hey presto, there it is, painted on the floor. Obviously a vital tool within Planet Zoo, I'm sure you'll agree, for being creative. And finally we have water. Obviously I do not have anywhere I can put water in yet, but this will add your water, it's calm and rough, or it will remove your water if you click on here. And obviously you can do other things here. You can put dirty water in if you want. For some reason, I don't think I've ever done that before, but you might have hippos or something, maybe you want to give them some muddy water. But there you go, that's basically, they're the 4 tabs within this section. Okay, so we're going to start here. I'll explain what each of these do, and then we'll have a little play around with them. So pull, pretty self-explanatory. Let's have a little look. Right, I'll get you a bigger circle up here. Within all these 4 tabs, this is going to stay the same, so maybe I'll explain this first. Intensity is basically how vigorously you want this to do the job. So for pull, for example, you click on this. One second, I'm on the wrong thing, I'm on flattened terrain. Pull, and it will pull it up fairly quickly. Okay, if you pull it up with less intensity, it will pull up with less intensity. I am actually doing that there. I know it doesn't look like it. You can see there is a slight hill there. It's just a lot less intense. So that's for if you want to do small slopes. If you want to do big slopes, obviously you put the intensity up to full blast and off you go. So that is fairly self-explanatory. Okay. And also you've got size, obviously, which is the size of the circle. Now if you're using push and pull, you will also get an additional circle, which basically obviously is like the epicenter. So if you're doing a hill and you pull up, it should come out no bigger than that circle. And obviously the outer circle is the outer area, this bit here. So again, it's pretty self-explanatory. Scenery lock and surface lock, here you go. So deformation respects scenery or not. So basically I think you can do it if you have like a barrier or something here and you click on the scenery lock, it will stay away from the scenery, and the same with here, the surface lock, it will do the same with surfaces. Again, we'll have a little fiddle around with it in a minute, and that sounds terribly inappropriate, but you know what I'm saying. And yeah, I'll show you what I mean by that. The paint thing here, you can have auto paint turned on, which basically whatever you've selected in the painting area. So say you've selected grass, if you use auto paint, when it pulls it up, it will pull up a grassy hill. It will paint it for you. Self-explanatory. And I think the one I usually keep it on as default is the use selected. Oh yeah, there we go. Because we've got soil selected rather, it's done it in soil. There you go, look. Soil selected there, and in the terrain, sculpting, it will build the hills in soil. So again, you can kind of use them in conjunction with each other. I'm gonna just undo all this stuff because I don't particularly want these hills. But yeah, so that's what you can use there. And obviously sampled, basically it will not use anything. So if I pull up now, there you go, it will just do a plain thing, and then you can decorate it how you want to do. So probably best you keep it on sampled most of the time, because then you can decorate things afterwards. And I haven't ever worried about highlight hidden barriers. I don't quite understand what it means. I'm going to be perfectly blunt with you though on that one. But I don't mess with that, and I don't mess with these two either, generally speaking, because if something does interfere with the scenery, I'll just sort it out myself. It's not really a big deal. So generally speaking, that's what I'll have. The only things that I really worry about on here are paint, and I generally keep that to sample unless I know I want to build a muddy hill or something. Then I'll just, put it on wherever I want to, vice versa. Intensity and size, they are the biggest ones. Obviously, like I said, intensity, if you want a gentle slope, there you go. And again, it's just, you can see it moving very gradually, and obviously you can turn it up higher. And size, obviously, so if you want a big hill or you want a tiny little one, and there you go. Okay, push, same sort of principle. Again, if I'll put the intensity and size up for you, obviously self-explanatory. You want to dip in the ground, there it is. You push it down and it makes a nice little hollow area. Again, all these controls will be the same, so if you want a slightly less intense hollow, use a less intense one, and there it is. Okay, now to probably one of your best friends in the game, flatten to foundation. This one here is vital. Basically, if you make a mistake with a hill or anything like that, just find a flat piece of ground, hold the mouse button down and drag across, and it will literally flatten everything out to that level. So you can, sometimes you won't be able to place a path because there'll be a slight slope there. Get your flatten to foundation button and flatten everything down, and then eventually a path will place. I mean, you might want a slopey path, that's up to you, but sometimes this game can be a bit fiddly. It's also good for a number of other reasons. Okay, so say you want to build a river to put some water in, or a lake. Okay, let's tell you what, we'll whack it up to full intensity and full size. I'll build a nice round hollow. So there we go. Now you could fill that up with water, no problem. If you want to, go onto the water tab and just put it in there. Click on it and there we go. That's full with water. You can actually get more creative than that though. So say you want to run a river off this. Take your size down a little bit. Use your flatten to foundation button and find the bottom of the riverbed or the pond. Hold the mouse button down and drag across. Keep that mouse button held, and you can dig out little crevices, little fissures in the ground sort of thing, and you can end up building out a nice, or digging out a nice little trench, which you can then, when you go to fill it with water, it will create a little river for you. Flatten to foundation is an awesome tool. I'm just gonna undo that little trench that I've built for you. Actually, I'll tell you what, flatten to foundation. We might as well demonstrate that. We're here to do that. And again, flatten to foundation. When you finish with what you do, just do that. quickest way. It will leave the dirt on the ground, but you can just auto paint over that if you need to. Another brilliant thing that flatten to foundation will do, so say you build a hill, build yourself a nice hill, and you think to yourself, I'd like people to climb up this hill, and then I'd like them to, I don't know, walk across like a little cliff face. So we take the size down, come over to this side, because obviously it's going to go off the side of the map there. We can go to the top or anywhere you want to, but I'm going to do it from the top. Hold the mouse button down again and drag across, and there you go. Builds it in mid-air for you. A nice little walkway, and obviously we can do that. You can make it bigger if you want to, all the time keeping the mouse button held. And obviously you can increase the size. Again, make sure you find the flat bit if you want to keep it all on the same level. Well, what I've done there is I've come slightly off the side. It's starting to build it there. That might be the size of the circle that's doing that. Probably better to work with a small circle and try and keep it within that area. So there you go. That is a really useful tool, and there's something else you can do with it too, because you can do like, you can go halfway up the hill and then do it there, and it will just do it halfway up. So it's very useful for dragging out little areas, creating little viewing areas and such off mountains and things like that. It's very useful. It's not only useful for tidying up, obviously, and you can also get really creative, and you can pull that across and then it'll merge into one. And then obviously you can get even more creative and mess around with that too. I mean, I wouldn't say the possibilities are endless, but they certainly, can create some very interesting looking shapes, as you can see, and that's just by using 3 of the tools. Really and honestly, there's only one other one I use from this section, and that is smooth. And again, smooth is your best friend, because it will tidy up these rough looking edges on things and mountains and everything, and make everything look nice and neat and smooth, funnily enough. There you go, see, but you got to be careful sometimes with maybe it's sometimes best to set the intensity a little bit lower, because it will do a very quick job of smoothing it out. Sometimes it will delete some of it, but it kind of flattens out all the rough looking edges, makes everything look nice and neat and natural, I suppose. Although obviously, sometimes you do get rough edges on terrain and stuff, but yeah, those 4, those 3 and this one here will be your best friends. These ones, flatten to surface. So say I want to go on the side here, and just what it will do is it will flatten, see the angle I've got the circle at, it will flatten everything to that angle. So look, if I do that, see, it will fill that circle. So again, you can use it to make some funky shapes, and then in combining with flatten to foundation, you could just do that and make yourself a nice ridge. It is possible to use that one. That is probably better than the other 2, in my opinion. This is all my opinion. It's not, there's no rules, but that's what flatten to surface will do. It will give you can use it again to do the same job kind of as small thing there, as the other tool, as the flatten to foundation, but you can use it along the side, so it won't only flatten to foundation will go straight. See, it's always going to be a straight circle. Flatten to surface will go to the sides. So like I said, you can create some you can use it to sort of like create some shapes around the side, and then obviously use your smooth to smooth it over. It is useful, but not as useful as the other 4, I would say. And then you've got roughen, which obviously will make rough shapes. If I whack the intensity up, you'll see how intense it can get. So it will really just roughen out. So all that lovely smoothing that you've done, this is like the anti-smoothing, basically. It just roughens everything. And chisel is what it is. So you've got a bit there on the side you don't particularly like. Just come around here and just line it up like there and press it, and it will chisel it away. So you can kind of use it like a carpenter's tool, I guess, but you don't want a big circle for that, because it will start chiseling everything off. But you know, here we go. Yes, 100% intensity. Just put it there, and there you go. It will chisel off pieces. It's quite handy, I suppose, if you've got like this bit here. You don't want that bit protruding. Just, you know, hold the button down and it removes it. But I find smooth works better because it's not quite as abrasive, and it will still look. It still does the job. It just does it in a much more natural way. But you know, again, like I said, it's all about personal opinion. So that is explaining these tools. Obviously, any questions you have, please don't forget to put them in the comments, and I'll try and explain things as best I can. I'm not an expert, like I said, so you know, I may not know everything. I know I don't know everything. We're always learning in this game, you'll find. Okay, now onto this useful tool here. This is called Terrain Stamp Tool, and basically you get this lovely looking gizmo here, which looks terrifying when you see it for the first time, but it's not that complicated. Here we go, I'll explain these things for you here. So you've got stamp mode, you've got plus, which will create a hill. If I click on it, minus, which will subtract, as you would expect. So that will dig into the surface. Angle snap is useful because when you have your box on the screen here, you can rotate it by pressing the Z key. And if you have angle snap on, it will just rotate at a certain angle. Whereas if you don't have your angle snap on, you can hold Z down and free rotate. Actually, sorry, that's totally wrong. If you have angle snap on and you hold Z down, then it will rotate at 15-degree angles, like so. Whereas if you don't have angle snap on and you hold the Z key down, it basically free rotates, so you can literally just put it anywhere you want. It's kind of used, angle snap's kind of used for if you want to keep everything sort of orderly and neat. It will just do it in 15-degree or however many degrees you set on here. You can do it up to 45 degrees, and literally, so if you hold Z down now and do it, it will go in bigger increments. 45 degrees, of course. I always find angle snap is good to keep on if you want to keep everything lined up. That's the way I do it. Height and width, self-explanatory again. Obviously that is 10 meters high, that is 10 meters deep. Oh, get that off of there. Oh, I can't. Yeah, but that's basically what it is. And obviously 20 meters wide. From there to there, 20 meters. Again, you can mess around if you want little holes or whatever. And again, highlight hidden barriers, I don't worry about, personally speaking. So there we have it. So let's just talk a little, or mess around a little bit with this. Okay, so I'm going to take the width down a little bit. And I'm going to take the height down to 8 meters. Okay, we'll have a look at some of the shapes. So you can do a circle. And obviously that's good. You can do that if you want to get a nice round pond. You can do it freehand, so you can, if you want to, hold the button down, click it. The difficult thing of this is it's never going to come out neat if you do it like that. So that is absolutely atrocious, and that's trying to do it like that. I'm going to show you a neat trick in a minute to getting it to look much better than that. Okay, obviously the plus side of the circle is this. Again, useful for creating shapes. We'll show that in a second. We've got the cylinder. I'm not going to bother showing you minuses of these. And the triangle. So there you go. And like I said, you mess around with that. You can make them taller or wider. There you go. So it's a very useful tool. Now, one of the little tricks that the pros would use, and I know it too, so I'm going to show you it. If you press the X button when you've got this on the screen, it will bring up what they call the advanced move tool. Now we'll explain these in greater detail in a different tutorial, but these lines basically are the axes, or the axes if you want, on the screen. So that one obviously will move it up, that one will also move it down. So it will raise up higher and lower. This one moves it along, and this one moves it the other way. How that is handy, right, is because you've got it on here now, it will stay on this. So basically, if you click it once, it builds a square. Now, the beauty about this is if I drag it along, I can do a space, but if I want to do a continuous block, click again, and click again. Now when I come out of that, there you go. It's one long thing. Whereas if you do it freehand, as you've already seen from me before, you can do it. But yeah, see, more often than not, it's not going to line up perfectly. But if you use the method of pressing X to get the advanced move up, you can do it neat every time. And obviously you can go this way as well if you want to, in that way. So say if that's what you wanted to do, like a T shape, very easy to do. That also will give you the power to press the X button to rotate the square as well. So if you want it at slightly lesser angle, again, angle snap will rotate at 15 degrees. But if you take angle snap off, again, the axis work the same way. It's quite an easier way if I show you from side on. See, the green circle will spin it round. The red circle will create slopes, which is really handy. I mean, I'll show you that in a second. And the blue will sort of tilt it from side to side. So let's show you what I mean by that slope being really handy. So say you want a slope to come up to this block here. Put it on here, press X. I hope this isn't too complicated. I'm just trying to show you the way I learn. Obviously any questions, put them in the comments. There you go. If I rotate that down, and now I can move it. You see, notice that that's changed. It's no longer straight up because I've rotated it. That's relative to its axis, or axis should I say. So if I drag that down, try and get it lined up as best I can. Now when I press do, you will see a slope has been added. Okay, now it's not perfect, but that is what these tools are incredibly handy for, because obviously you can smooth that bit out. In fact, you can even flatten it to foundation, so it will get rid of it completely. And this one here, obviously you can flatten to foundation as well, so it will just make, and then obviously you could smooth that out if you want to make it flatter, and it makes a nice slope. Obviously, you know, you can put a bit more of one on there, or you can sort of like do a raised path going onto it or whatever. But basically, that is the power of using the advanced move. Like I said, press X, and then you can either move things up and down, left and right, or you can rotate. So you can do some funky shapes. Again, you can rotate all of them. So if you wanted to do a cylinder for some reason, and then rotate that, you can do it. So you get a funky shape like that, and you can obviously join that to it as well using these tools here. They will all join up, and you can pull them together and whatever, and then flatten to foundation, and there you go, all sort of joins up together. So very handy tools. Paint is obviously self-explanatory, like I've said before. You know, the good thing is you can mess around with the intensity, and that is a very useful tool, because just doing something in full intensity, you know, it's just going to create a big blotch like that. But if you do it lower intensity, you'll find obviously that it's less intrusive, shall we say. So you can create some really nice shading effects on the side of rocks. I mean, don't get me wrong, if you want to go full tilt and just turn it into full on sand, you know, go for it. But I find, you know, using a lower intensity is always the best, and I think the pros will do that too, because it kind of, and you can blend as well, so you can do a little mixture of sand, rock, and then even put a bit of grass over there. And you can see the difference to just doing like the full blown grass. There you go, that's full blown grass, and that's a little bit of shading. So just get creative, you know. Snow is a tricky beast, because you need coolers for snow in certain temperatures. So I can put snow on quite happily, but as soon as I let go of the mouse button and move away, it disappears and turns into rock. Snow is there because look, you go over it and the snow is there, but in reality in the game you'd have to put a cooler down there to lower the temperature so the snow will stay. If you move off, it goes. And this feature here is very good because it's got, like, I think it's got the shading effect that you have down there, so you can auto paint that over vaster surfaces. You'll see that it's got a kind of mixture of the two that I put on there, and yeah, you can kind of auto paint that on sections. So yeah, it's very cool. Again, get creative, you know, that's the best policy. So I'll show you quickly, because I don't want these videos to be too long, what I mean by, or what the terrain editor can do for you to make things look really good in a quick, relatively easy space of time. Okay, so what we're going to do here is bung a quick habitat down. It's going to be nothing fancy. 1 second. Just do a quick one. Join, thank you. Glass habitat gate will do. Okay, so quick habitat, make sure it is one. There you go, it's a full habitat. Okay, I like to work on a flat map. Some people will prep it in advance and do hills and mountains and all sorts, but I like to do that as I go along, personally. Okay, so we'll start by pulling up some of the terrain. What I'm going to do is just pull up some of this terrain so you can make some little mountainous shapes. So I would always advise use the smooth button. Just make things look better. You can then use your shading techniques and just, like, you know, fill in a few areas of that with rock, just to make it look like it's lifting up off the ground a little bit. Leaving a bit of rock there. You know, I mean, I'm sure that you are way more creative out there than I am. This is just a quick demo of what you can do within a habitat. Okay, anything again you don't like, so you don't like any of that, up the intensity and the size, flatten it out, get rid of it. Right, terrain can also be used for like a various couple of other reasons. Various couple of other reasons? Does that even make sense? Anyway, you'll see what I mean in a second. So what we're going to do is just build something quick and simple here. We'll build this here. Say this is a mountain. I know it's not going to look much like one because it's just going to be a big block. Say that's a mountain, okay? Then we can get our old friend, the flatten to foundation tool, and drag that out. And then obviously, if you wanted to, you could get another one of these behind using the X button, as I showed you earlier, and rotate. And we can rotate down and move that down. Okay. So there we go, there's a little slope. Just got to push that in a bit. Push that in a little bit. You get the general idea anyway. Smooth it out. But what you can do, obviously, from that, obviously I'm rushing through this, it's not like I'm trying to do this neat or anything. Have a path coming up here, you can have like a little plaza area, and you could have a nice viewing area here. You can fence it off, draw a path around the outside, and obviously it overhangs the habitat. And what you will notice is it's built into the wall there, but if I click on it, still a valid habitat. Now, I couldn't get my head around this when I first played. I stayed away from the walls of the habitat, thinking, you know, well, you can't have things growing out of them because it's going to break the habitat. Well, it doesn't. So you can use terrain like that to do that with. Also, you can get even more creative, and you can, let's keep the intensity up, just lower the size. Do it nice and gentle. Not only do you get the viewing area, but if I was to pull up from down here a little bit, so it joins, pull up from here, again just so it joins. Again, we're not doing anything too precise here. Get it all to join on the side there, like so. Get your flat foundation out, just lower the intensity a little bit and the size. I want it a bit bigger than 1. There we go. Just push that back like that. And then obviously smooth as always, smooth it out. And you can use this. What I will do is just push that up there a little bit. I don't want it quite so thick. Just doing it very gently, just pushing that up and out of the way. Oh, I've created a little hole in the thing which I didn't mean to. I'll just Control Z that one. There we go. So as you can see there, very quickly, very crudely, I have created like a little shelter for the animals. So you could put bedding in there, and that will count as a hard shelter for the animals. And once again, if I click on the habitat, still a habitat, so it hasn't done any damage. So you potentially can create a nice point where people can view the habitat from, but also the same thing can be used as a little animal shelter. That's just a very small, crude, simple example to what you can use terrain for. You know, use it to your advantage, and it's not anything that's too massively complicated once you know how to use the tools. So there we go, guys. Hope you enjoyed that. I hope it's helped. You know, I'm never sure with these tutorial videos. I know I don't know everything, hence the title, Planet Zoo for Dummies. I don't know everything, don't claim to know everything, but what I do know, I like to share with people. So I hope that this helps. If it does, please leave a like, and please do subscribe to the channel if you would. That would be fantastic. There'll be more of these videos coming, and some gameplay videos too. Hopefully some speed builds at some point when I'm confident on those. If there is anything else that you need to know, or there's any questions you have on anything that's been in the video, please do let me know, and I will be happy to answer if I can. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching. Take care. I will see you on the next video. Bye for now.